here to learn more about our candidates for seat 2 of the City Commission. And I'm also delighted all of you are here. You will have 2 minutes for opening remarks, and then for the various questions, there will be 90 seconds for each of you to respond, and then we'll close with 2 minutes with anything you'd like to share. With that, I'd like to begin our forum. And if Ms. Sprinkel, if you'd like to begin with the 2-minute introduction.
Hi, thank you for coming out today, and thank you for coming to this crown jewel called the library. And you all know I'm Sarah Sprinkel. I'm here today to ask for your support so I can continue to serve you. So let me tell you a little bit about why, when we came to the library, I thought of an idea. Back when I was working with the school system, we had this program called, and when I was working in the school system, that's what I did. We had this great program when kids would go to school, and it was called Drop Everything and Read. When they would go, they would take any book they wanted and they would read for 15 minutes. So I'm going to introduce myself around that concept today and tell you my D word starts with what's dear to me. Now those of you who know me know I use the term dear often. I'll call you dear, or I'll say, hey dearie, to my husband, and I will tell you that the dearest people to me are here, my husband, George Wade, because he's the person I married into Winter Park. You see, he's been here 56 years, I've been here 42 years. We have 3 children, and one of them's here, Clark U. Wave also, because he gets to epitomize what you just heard was our vision for Winter Park. He lives, works, and plays right here. I don't want to know what he plays, but I know he lives and works here, okay? And then we also have 4 grandchildren, and I, my friends, am so fortunate that I have my 92-year-old mother who lives here. So you may see me sometimes around town with someone in a wheelchair, and that's my mom. Tom Childers and I share our parents over at the gardens, and that's a really nice place to be. So that's my family. It's the most important thing to me. Other important things to me are certainly our wonderful homes, our great water, our great lakes, all the things that we have right here in this community. The other thing I wanted to mention is that when I'm thinking about what's the dearest thing to me, it's you all. It's the people in this town. So what's dear to me is you. What's dear to me is the things that make Winter Park as special as it is. And for me, that's why I want to continue my service to you in this city.
Great, thank you. Ms. Womble.
Hello everybody, good afternoon. My name is Sandy Womble. I'm not a politician, so I wrote out what I was going to say so I could say the best I could. I look around the room, a lot of you have already made up your minds. I know you're here for either me or Sarah, but some of you may be undecided, and I hope to persuade you to vote for me today. And not because of any personal reasons, but because of my stand on the issues. I think I'm an independent voter. My supporters will benefit from the positions I take. We benefit in our community, the stronger and better we are. The examination of my contributions will show you that I am independent. I'm proud to say my contributors are all private individuals that are unaffiliated with groups that come before the city and petition for development and other issues. I support returning to the urban forestry management plan and reinstating the city's responsibility to take care of the trees in the right of way. I support upgrading our historic preservation plan ordinance, and I'd like a clause in there that would read that somehow would mandate the commissioners personally inspect a building before rescinding any historic preservation. And I'd also like to add that if this ever happens again, that neighbors within 1,000 feet be notified about the house. I support appointing qualified residents to our boards. We have an abundance of talented citizens that could serve on these boards. In closing, I'm all about community character. I'm working to protect our quality of life, our trees, our historic properties, and the parks are my special interest, so are you.
Thank you very much.
Great question, because it is very confusing what's going on out there. Right now, whether you know it or not, You are responsible for the trees in the tree canopy in the city. It was passed back in 1952, before lots of you were even born, and that is still on the books. So I will tell you that it was time for us to take a closer look at that. And we did. We said, let's see what we can do, because we planted, get this folks, 835 trees in the last 3 years for the tree canopy in the right-of-way. So we know, I'm very aware that we have issues with the tree canopy. So we said, let's see what we can do to fix this problem. So right now, that's what we got. We got an urban study. First it came to us in October, came back to us in January. It's fabulous, but guess how much it cost? $6.8 million to do what we need to have done. That's a lot of money. And so we said, let's look at this when we do our budget, because we know we need to take care of the trees, and we fully intend to do that. We had a 4-1 vote to adopt the urban forestry plan. That urban forestry plan is fabulous. Now, there's a lot of things that are going to happen, but what we need to know is that we need to do a lot of education about what we can do around the urban forestry plan. So I'm highly supportive of trees. That's why we have the urban forestry plan. We asked for it. And what I want to do is to make sure that we move to the place where the city is responsible, not you.
Thank you. Ms. Womble.
I agree. I think the urban forestry plan was excellent. It was put together by the Tree Preservation Board and staff, and I agree with everything in there, including that the city take care of the trees in the right-of-way. It was my understanding, I think Michelle DeVal told them that it would cost around $900,000 to take care of those trees, and I think it's very important that we put that back into the ordinance. If I was elected, I would definitely support that. I think we need to spend our money on the assets in our city, one of those being the tree. We are actually in crisis management about the trees because the laurel oaks are coming down rapidly. So we do need to be very careful about taking care of our trees. They're an important asset, and it's what brings people to our city. One of the things. Thank you. I really can't think of anything that I think should be changed. I think people sometimes confuse. They get the Parks and Rec costs a lot of money, but it's a important amenity to our city, to us, and I'm very much pro park. I have a long record of supporting and defending the parks, Central Park, the dog park. It's a very important thing to me, and I think staff. The Parks and Rec staff is excellent. I like all of them and I support them.
Thank you. Ms. Sprinkel.
Let me clarify that the $1 million was for 1 year, not for the entire project. So that was $1 million for 1 year. 6.8 minimum for probably a 7-year span. Now, when it comes to parks, you guys know that we have 300 acres of parkland in the city of Winter Park. Isn't that wonderful? 300 acres of parkland, and it's all around us. They actually had a goal to make sure that within 1 mile of every single person in the city of Winter Park, there was a place for kids to play, and they have almost reached that goal. So the Parks and Recreation Department, first of all, it's known as one of the top 5 in the nation. And those are the kinds of things we're doing in our city. We're doing some fabulous things in our city. We have some folks here from the city. I thought they were here. Where did they move to? Oh, right over here. So I will tell you that they just put a book out. That book tells you, I've got it right here, it tells you so much about our Parks Department. So there's a lot of information that we need to get in your hands so you know just how very good our city is, or how well our city is doing and how great our parks are. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
And that's a great question for me because I've been doing that for 3 years. And I will tell you that it's part of why I ran originally. I ran originally because I believed we could be more cohesive in this community, and we are. 95% of all of our votes are 5-0 votes. That's excellent. That's not the way it used to be. We had a lot of acrimony on our commission in the past, and we do not now. We like each other, we work together, and that's the beginning of it. We listen, and when you ask, how do you work together? Well, first of all, we're all very equal. We all get one vote, okay? And we listen to each other, and we listen to you. Whenever we get our packets, which we just received yesterday for next Monday, I go through my packet, I look at my questions, and I call and get my answers from our city manager. And then I'm prepared, or better prepared. I may have to go out and ask some of you questions about something on our agenda. And that's the way it works. That's what we do. But working together is very, very important in this community. That's one of the reasons I ran for city commission to begin with. You know, I've been in this place a long time. I didn't like the way we were looking sometimes to the outside world. The city of Winter Park is just a small area of 28,000 people inside an area of 2.2 million people. So I will tell you, it's important for us to be regional, but always safeguarding what we do right here in this town. So I like being a part of that big group. Thanks.
Thank you.
Can
Ms.
you
Womble.
repeat your question?
At times, there are controversial items that come before the city commission. In your role as commissioner, how would you work with the mayor and the other commissioners to find common ground in working through the range of ideas? And how would you incorporate thoughts and input from citizens?
Okay, that's a great question. First of all, let me say, Commissioner Leary's here. The mayor is not here, the other two, but I get along very well with all of them. I like all of them. And I think that that is important. I think that listening to the citizens is important. And I have to disagree. I don't think everything has been so good down at City Hall. There has been a lot of acrimony because a lot of people feel very disenfranchised. And that's something we need to improve. We need to have more public workshops and include public participation. These are just things I think are important. And I would very much like to have more communication going out to the community about upcoming projects so that people don't get upset and feel distrustful about the city commission.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, I've written a lot about this already, but you know, I feel like that this is being done behind closed doors and that it's already been decided, but I do not support a baseball team in Martin Luther King Park. It's our park, and I think, you know what, let me back that up. I support whatever you think. I think if we decide to put it in Martin Luther King, it should be a public referendum and the residents should decide that. I would consider putting it in Rabotage. I think that's a much better area because minor league baseball is an economic catalyst for growth and business. So I think that's an excellent place, and I'd like to, you know, negotiate more with them. The other places were the Winter Park Votech. I'm not in favor of that area. I think that would be better as a retail area. And then the tree farm, obviously not the tree farm, but I do think this is an important issue, and it's $35 million that they estimate it's going to cost them. Right now, we have $4 million committed to it from outside parties. So I wish it had been decided before this election. They put it off until August, so hopefully, you know, hopefully the outcome will be what the residents want. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sprinkel.
People in this community have been talking about a baseball stadium for about a year and a half. And talking about that, we have just been at the table with other people, with the college, with the private people that own it. And what happened was we got a report that gave us some ROI, some investment opportunities that said this could be as much as $6 million to your city every single year. And as your representative, I cannot turn my back on that. That says to me the people in this community who are working would be able to put money in their pockets. And so, when it came to us, first of all, we've had some very specific ideas, and we have said it is not going to use city money. And you've got to hear that very, very loud and clear. It's been in the paper. We said it at our workshop. We are not using your money. We are not bonding your money. But if there are private people out there who want to put their money into a stadium in our community, we might be able to work with them. That's what we're saying. Now, why has it been put off? Because this is a big deal for people to work on. And there's a lot of people who like the idea and some who don't. I was not really wild about the idea, but I couldn't turn my back on something that could give our city that kind of revenue. Now, Martin Luther King, I was the only person at the table who said, let's take it off, because I was the chairperson of the Martin Luther King naming committee that named that park. I didn't want to name it one year and the next year come back and change it. So what I said is, can we take it off? And uniformly, I was told, and I appreciate this because, you see, this is how commissioners work together.
Sprinkle, your time is
Oh,
up.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Okay.
That's okay.
Can I finish it the next time?
Yes, ma'am.
That is a huge challenge. We're doing it right now, and that is the most important thing we do. The most important thing that I can tell you is we bring you a very sound fiscal budget. We bring you a very sound city. You know that we have grown our rainy day fund so that it was $16 million, or $6 million when we came, and it's $12 million now. So I can tell you we are working hard to make sure we are a solvent city, and we are. Okay, now we're not going to raise your taxes, okay, but we have been able to increase some of what's happening in as much as $200 million has been added in the last 3 years to the tax rolls. And that's very important because that's what keeps your homeowners or your taxes down so that we don't have to increase them to keep your amenities the way they are. So that's very important.
Great, thank you, Ms. Womble.
Okay, could you read the question again?
Sure. One of the first challenges you will face as the commissioner will be working with the city's budget for the next fiscal year. Do you anticipate any changes in priorities or city services as you go through that budgeting process?
No, I think our budget is fine right now. I do think that we have degraded some of the city services, and I would like to see those implemented back into the budget. I know our taxes haven't gone up. Well, actually, mine have gone up somewhat, but I haven't checked to see if it's the city. But I do think it's very important, and I think that we need to be careful about stopping our city services, and this is something that I would look to in the budget. I think that's a very important thing. That's why we live here. It's our quality of life thing. And we need to continue to put more money into our infrastructure and not minor league baseball or any other other ideas like that. Well, that's a no-brainer. No. Okay. I can't say anything else. I'll go ahead and talk for 3 minutes, but no.
Okay. Great, thank you. Ms. Sprinkle.
I'm also not going to raise taxes, but I will also tell you that one of the things that we have to do in this city and in every city out there is to know that what happens when your taxes get raised is we had something else happen at the state level, which was a rollback. And when that rollback happened, we actually have less dollars to deal with in our city today than we had 3 years ago. Because of that, we had at one time in the city of Winter Park 575 employees. We have 500 now, okay? So things are not the way they were at one time, and they may not be moving forward because we know that there's other things we can do. We have technology now. How many of you all right now are paying your bills online when it comes to your power? Well, we have quite a few. Those are things that are going to be very helpful as we move forward because we don't have to have a person who's in a seat who's going to take your money. So there's a lot we're doing, but that's just a little bit so you'll know how big that issue really is. Oh, great question. There are a number, but there can always be more. I'll just tell you that we just flipped the switch the other day on our first ever the stuff in the sky, what was it called, Steve? The solar. We just flipped the switch and we did that. So we have a lot of unique activities going on in our community. I'm not sure, we have some committees. The way we use our committees and our boards in this community is very, very helpful. And they bring us those ideas, and the Keep Winter Park Beautiful Committee, all of those folks are bringing us ideas of things we can do. Very seldom do we sit up on the dais and create the ordinances. We usually sit up on the dais and tell the boards, we would like you to help us with this. And then they go out and go back to you and bring us what we're asking for. Now, where does that come from? It comes from you. It comes from this question right here. So we'll go back and we'll say, we need to do more. Where can we do more? That's how I would handle that. I would go back and say, okay, board, can you help me with this? How can we get more?
Great, thank you. Ms. Womble.
Okay, the question is about recycling sustainability.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I've been talking about this for years with John Holland. The first thing I would do is go put recycle bins at our golf course. I walk my dogs around there all the time. The trash is filled with empty water, beer cans, and beer cans. We did have a wonderful sustainability manager. He's soon to go, or he's already left, but he had the most fabulous ideas, and this is the thing that I get the most charge from is recycling and environmental issues. That's very important and near and dear to my heart. I think we could do better. I think we need to communicate with the community better and explain what they do with all of our recycles and what it brings back to us. The other thing I'll tell you is we pay a fortune to the waste management company for picking up our recycles, and guess what? It doesn't cost a single penny to go drop it off at the recycle in Orange County. So I'd like to, talking about budgets, I would like to try to renegotiate that contract with the waste management company and greatly reduce us paying for trash that actually we don't get charged for at Orange County. Thank you.
Any thoughts about the direction our business community should take?
I agree. I think that the economy has turned around. We're stronger than ever. I heard on the radio the other day, one of the signs of a good economy is more cars on the road. Ugh. But yeah, I think we have got to be very careful about our development. We are in the driver's seat. We should be more, I think we should be better negotiators with especially the big development, and be careful to not lose our unique charm, our city charm. We have a lot of issues, a lot of developments coming up before us. I would like to, to me, the most important thing about approving these developments is concurrency, which means traffic, parking spaces, height, density. These are all quality of life issues. Think about it. We've already, in the past year or two, we've already permitted over, I think it's over 1,000 water permits in the city. And that's, that's a lot. Our aquifers are drying up. And these are things we got, this is the next century. These are things we need to think about.
Great, thank you. Ms. Sprinkel.
I said earlier, we live in the center of 2.2 million people. And we're real close to Orlando. We're closer than Apopka or Winter Garden or Ocoee. So our city, right here, Winter Park, that we all love just like it is and don't want anything to change, has changed. Now, I have lived here longer than all the other commissioners. I have lived here for 42 years, and I can see how this city used to look. I remember when I went to the library, that was just a little building over here. Okay, so I've been here a long time, and I know it has to change. That's life. It's going to change. But can we protect this area? And we have, and we are. Now, we can tell you that with that many people around us, we're a kind of product of our success. People come to see us because they want to be here. People come here because they like to be where things are going on. And so that's part of what we're seeing and what we're feeling. And at the same time, I, just like you, don't want the things that look like Dr. Phillips to come into our community. I was down there yesterday and I met some people down there and I thought, boy, am I glad I live in Winter Park. And I say that all the time. Boy, am I glad I live in Winter Park. And you, like me, have people all the time who come to see you and say, that's a great city. I want to live there. Well, luckily, we haven't had to take those actions. We're at 100%. We were dipped down to 97, didn't we? And then we got right back up because basically we are, since I took office, it was 77%, and now it's at 100%. I'd like to take all the credit for that, but I really can't. We got lots of other people who can, and Patrick's one of them, and what he's done with the chamber. It's a great place to be. People want to be in Winter Park. They want to be on our streets. We've taken some actions that we've been asked to take, and we will continue to do that, but do we need to go out and start interfering between the landlords and the tenants? No. Okay? What's happening now is we've got 100% occupancy. I'm not sure how you improve on that. In my math class, you didn't. Okay?
Great, thank you. Ms. Womble.
Can you read the question again?
Okay, let me find it. I better make sure I keep these all on the top here. What actions would you take to ensure the continued high occupancy rates along the Park Avenue corridor?
Okay, I think probably one thing that I would like to see on Park Avenue is cleaner sidewalks and a cleaner area. If you ever go to Palm Beach and look at their sidewalks compared to downtown, that's something I would be very much supportive of. Doing a better job of cleaning our sidewalks. I think I'm also very supportive of the independent business owners. They're our trademark downtown. That's what makes us, that's what differentiates us from the mall. So I think they're very important. We need to keep a communication and a partnership with all of them. I've worked on Park Avenue, and I understand the equation of how they work. The little stores have their own unique merchandise. They do not. They have it's understood that if you have a product, another store doesn't carry the same thing. I like that. And I think the rent's way too high, but we can't do anything about that unless we try to do like New York, and then that would turn into a disaster.
Great, thank you.
I think that sounds kind of radical. I don't think it should be too difficult. I think it's a very simple thing. And I think visually we see all the historic architecture around town. There's another property nearby, near me, that y'all are just going to go ballistic when you find out about this, that could very well come down. I just would like to upgrade our historic ordinance. I'm an advocate of historic preservation. I'd like to take care of that ordinance, do it now instead of letting it linger and linger. Since last June, the city asked, the commission hired a consultant to do a study of our historic preservation, and he came back with an indictment on how poor our historic preservation is. I'd like to see that upgraded and discussed at the city commission meeting and pull in the community and come to a conclusion on this, because I think it's a very important part of our town.
Thank you. Ms. Sprinkel.
Actually, what happened last June was the commission asked the historical board to go back and work on this and bring it back to us. That is how we work. And they did. And they came back and they said, we need some help. Will you authorize some money for us to hire some other people to come in and talk to us? And we said, yes, we will. Because we asked them to do a lot. We gave them a lot of questions. Every one of us, 5-0, said, we agree historical preservation is important. We agree we need to beef that up. We agree that we need to incentivize people to go for historical preservation. So we are working on that. One of the things you learn at the table and at the dais is that things do not happen that quickly. But they do happen better when you have lots and lots of input. Now, I can see that I would never do away with your right to vote. Your right to decide what it is that you want for your house, what it is that you want for whatever you are there for. So I will never never support doing away with your right to vote. So that's very important because that's one of the things that this gentleman decided would be a good idea. So we can't do that. That's not democratic. We just said we're coming to the library for democracy. So there's a lot of things that they have to consider. And I'm glad they are because it'll come back to us and we'll make some decisions. It's in process. It may not be as fast as you want it, but it's going to happen. The sky is not falling and Chicken Little is not here.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
That's a great question. You know, I really have been so impressed with Keep Winter Park Beautiful / sustainability program because they are bringing in all of these very interesting components to transportation. And I think this is something that we have got to really focus on, alternative transportation. I'd like to see more money set aside for more bike lanes and pedestrian walkways. We could always upgrade that. You know, they're putting the bike share here at the library. They're going to have it also have it at the commuter rail. One thing that I think would do well in Winter Park, there's a system downtown called O-Carts, and what they do is it's a private transportation. They take you throughout. And I would be interested in studying the O-Carts program because we have a lot of residents that live here that really our links cannot service because links is a regional transportation, and I would like to perhaps study things like that. Thanks.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Stepp.
I had answered that one.
I'm sorry.
Transportation is really interesting because that's one of our elements that we always have to look at, and we always know that we can't just talk about transportation right here in Winter Park. We are part of this big region and this big area. So what's happening right now is we've got plans together, and we're hoping when the rail comes in that they're going to work. I hope so, just like you do, and I know these are better minds than mine that are looking at them. And they have a plan for how the buses are going to go and how people are going to get on them. So we're looking at all of that. As far as transportation and how much people drive, I don't know about you, but I'll always look for the opportunities to walk when I can. So public transportation in this community and in this city, much less this state, has never been all that effective. I'm delighted the rail is coming through because the rail is going to give us an opportunity to commute. And that's what it's going to do. I don't know how successful it's going to be, but I'm going to get on it, okay? You know that old saying from Yogi Berra, if you don't know where you're going to get somewhere else? Well, I'll tell you, I'm not sure where we're going, but I may get somewhere else. But I want to ride the rail. I can't wait to see what happens with it. At the same time, as a commuter, it won't help me with my office. I work full-time. It's one of the things that I think is very important for your commissioners to be a part of the real world and work. And it doesn't go where I work. So I won't be able to take that for my commute. But many people can. I'm looking forward to commuter rail. Great question. We have 20 boards, 130 people, 2 who do not live in the city of Winter Park. So it is not a rampant problem that we have someone who doesn't live in the city of Winter Park. In fact, Rodney Kincaid, whom I saw this morning, is one of those people who is an icon in this community, has done so much in this community. It's just amazing. And I told him that if I had the chance, I was going to call him out today and say, we want you to stay on this board because he has an expertise that's so important. Now, you can go online and you can apply to be a part of a board. I think you have to apply every year. The mayor appoints those folks, and I'm delighted that we have so many people who want to be a part of this process. The board process in the city of Winter Park has been lifted up and gotten much more important because I can tell you I depend on the boards. I depend on the boards greatly because you have a chance to get more information, so when it comes to me, a lot of that information is already established for me. So our board process works. I like it. Come on down and be a part of it.
Great, thank you. Ms. Womble.
Read the question again, please.
Oh, about transportation.
No, boards.
The boards, I'm sorry. I went back too far. There are several city advisory boards made up of citizen volunteers. How would you encourage residents and citizens to become active on those boards?
Okay, great question. I've seen where residents were overlooked for people that were non-residents of the city, and I don't like that. In fact, there was the Historic Preservation Advisory Board is very dysfunctional, and one member just stepped down who lives in Orlando and is married to a land use attorney. So my idea is that we have got such a wealth of talent in the city, and so our board should be made up of residents only. And I support that, and I think that we need to get back to that practice. I admire most of our board members, but I do think there is an issue with this, and I think that we need to change that. Traffic, and traffic. I've heard a lot of different issues. It's been fun going out and speaking to everybody in the community and listening to their stories and the things that concern them. But probably the biggest complaint from people is traffic. And I think that we need to do more traffic studies. We have not done that in quite some time. And those are important to our quality of life. It's just getting back to the basics again and carrying out things like that add to our community.
Thank you. Ms. Sprinkel.
The number one question I get when I knock on somebody's door is, when am I going to get my utilities undergrounded? That is the number one question. So now I've gotten smarter, and before I go walk a neighborhood, I find out that answer so I can tell them when I'm there, okay? Because I usually come back, find the answer, and call them. So people want to know that because we made a commitment when we bought that electric company that we were going to put our wires underground. Now, it was a 25-year commitment, and it takes a long time. We've got a very specific process to get that done. I was just talking to Jerry Warren today. We have a very smart gentleman who runs that company. And I will tell you that he said, you know, Sarah, we've almost got it where people are going to be able to go online and find this out. So he's working on that. He knows, just like I do, the importance of people being able to get their own information. So that's one thing I hear. I hear that everywhere I go. I will tell you that my feeling from walking around this community is we're doing really well. First of all, the houses look good. The yards look good. People are doing well. Now, not everybody, and those are the sad cases, and I find that out. I was at a lady's house the other day who's lived in that house for 61 years. Can you imagine? She told me she came there when her child was just born, 2 months old. So it's an interesting thing to do, but it does keep you in touch with what is happening in the real world. What I would tell you is that I'm an educator. Many of you already know that. So education always rises to the top in my world. And so I believe that the more you know, that knowledge is power. The more you know about what we do, the better off you are, the better off I am. So we will continue to make that happen. Clarissa does a great job with that. We can always do more. You get something like 30 different periodicals that we send out from the city right now. But we can always do more. So that's one thing, so that you can go online and find out answers. That's one of my goals. My other goal, and I'm a very goal-oriented person, is that when you go online or you ask us a question, that it all fits together. That you know this is the goal of the city, this is how we measure it, and this is how we decide whether or not we're successful. And that comes a lot from education and planning, but it also tells you that that's how you know that those people you elect are doing what they said they were going to do. That's one of the things I've always wanted to do. The other thing is I absolutely know we have to maintain our fiscal responsibility. That is the reason we can come up here and talk about what we can do for you, because we're a physically sound community, and that's always our #1 goal.
Thank you. Ms. Womble?
That's a good question. I think I agree with the fiscally responsible. We need to stay very focused on that and not, waste money on pet projects like the rebranding of Park Avenue, which cost $90,000. Does anybody remember the tagline for that 2 years ago? I don't either. But the other things that I would be interested in is seeing more public participation and more workshops that involve the community, that involve the stakeholders who live here. I think that's key. I think also the environment, transportation is going to be a big issue over the years, and alternative transportation is something very important to me. Our tree canopy, I think we need to protect that. And I just think we need to protect our sense of charm and community character here. There you go.
Great, thank you. Well, before our closing statements, Ms. Womble, you'll go first, and then followed by Ms. Sprinkel. I'm sure all of us would like to know how we could reach you if we have some other burning questions we need to ask you before Tuesday. So if you have a website, your cell phone, share with us in terms of how we could reach you.
Okay. Actually, I think everybody knows where I live. I'm the light lady, and I started the lights on Old England. But I'm also in the phone book. You can call me anytime. Not after 10 or before 8 in the morning. But anyway, I want to say a couple things. I think it's been really interesting running for City Commission, and I'm personally have really enjoyed it and meeting people. Why am I running? Because I will be your independent vote. There are 5 people on the commission. 3 of them vote together. I will be the independent vote and make the best decisions for all of us. I think there's many issues coming before us that are very significant, development, the minor league baseball, and I think we all need to participate in this and be a member of the team that makes these decisions. I think we're a city of homes and trees. Everybody knows my record on that, so those are 2 things that are very important to me. And it would be an honor to serve as your commissioner. It really would. And I think the very last thing I want to say is, I hope after this race is over that we can all shake hands and quit focusing on our differences, because you know what? We're all here together. We all live here. We're all neighbors. We're residents of Winter Park, and I think it's time we sit down and just talk to each other and be good neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sprinkle, before your closing remarks, how can we reach you?
Well, we have a website, and Cynthia back here, who's been helping me with the campaign, has our cards. You can always call me, 407-247-1912. It's my cell phone, and it's the only way you'll ever find me. So anyway, please call if you have any questions. I'm happy to help. All right, my closing's very simple. When I started, I told you about the DEAR program. I said, what's dear to me is dear to you. Okay, I know I am just like you. What I have learned on the commission is if I have a question, you have that same question. And so I ask it, and I do that because that's what I've learned. My education is probably what I will always put down as what I have done in this world. I want to be known for being an educator. It's what I am. It's my very heart. The A is accountability. I am highly accountable, okay? Certainly, that is part of what you have right now. Highly accountable people who are accountable to you because we are spending your money, and we know it. And my R word is the word that I'm going to call resolve. I like the word resolve because resolve can be used 2 ways. I like resolving issues. I'm one of those people that was a middle child, and I was always the peacemaker, okay? And I resolved all the issues between the big ones and the little ones. And right now, we have a lot of things we resolve at the table. I also like resolve because it tells you a little bit about me and my character. I have a great deal of resolve. I have a great deal of will. Anybody who thinks I'm not independent, just ask my husband, okay? He will tell you how highly independent I am. So there's no one out there that could say anything but how independent I am. And resolve also talks about courage. It takes a lot of courage to run for office. It really does. It takes even more to run for office the second time. So I've been honored to serve you. I would love to serve you for 3 more years. I appreciate your support and hope you'll vote for me on March 11th.
Thank you. Please join me in thanking both the candidates.